That's
Yeah,
better.
hi.
You're all good? Where,
Yeah,
where are you
everything is
based?
good. I'm from India.
Okay. Sounds looks nice and warm, I think.
It's
A
outside.
lot better. Yeah, a lot better than here.
So, firstly, thank you very much, Peter, for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and my podcast.
Yep. Oh, no problems. Always happy to do those things.
So, I want to tell about SharePains to my
Yep.
audience.
Yep. Well, SharePains is basically what I started off probably about 10 years ago. And I wrote a couple of little blog articles and nothing really happened with it. And then wrote a few more blog posts and a few more and a few more. And it slowly grew and grew. And then I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I started writing 3, 4 blog posts a day sometimes even. And in a week, I would have somewhere near 10 blog posts. And of course, people started noticing that. And then it really grew really fast. And so that's basically where it all started. And then uh, about 4 years ago, Microsoft basically recognized that and they gave me my first MVP award. And that's basically where it really kicked off. And if you look at the stats on my blog post, basically, it used to be about 200 a day. And hey, that's quite good, isn't it? And it's now about 5,000, 5,500 a day. And so it's grown really massively. And it's actually quite good fun. If it, I quite like the numbers behind the website. So if you look at it basically on a daily basis, it's a lot of viewers. But if you then look at it on an annual basis, it's hit over the million kind of thing, and you go, whoa, I've got more than a million people looking at my blog posts every year, and that's still growing. That's still going up um, almost every day. So yeah, that's pretty much what my blog is all about. It's all about Microsoft technology. I started basically focusing a bit about where initially I focused on SharePoint. It then moved into Microsoft Teams and then into the Power Platform. And so Power Automate, Power Apps, and all those kind of things. And it's quite interesting to say where I get more and more people just basically coming my way, asking me for a little bit of help, and that's actually quite interesting to see how that changes. I've got some people basically they come to me on a daily basis almost asking questions, trying to get some help with their job, and it's quite nice when you can help them.
You're from?
I'm originally from the Netherlands. I was born in the Netherlands, but I moved to the UK probably about 25 years ago. So I basically, yeah, I'm living in the UK and quite enjoyed it since I moved here. So, um, but yeah, originally come from the Netherlands.
So, SharePains, you started it after coming to UK, which means you are into 25 UK 25 years. So, you're writing 5 blog posts, I mean 10 blog posts a week, and now you have it reached everywhere and it reached Microsoft and you got award from it. So
Yep.
how this passion habituated to you?
Well, basically, when I quite a while ago, basically, I used to work for a company where blogging was very, very normal. It was almost expected from all the consultants to write blog posts. We had an intranet based on SharePoint, of course, and we had little blog posts and that would appear on the homepage. And the top 3 or the most recent 3 would appear over there. And it became a bit of a competition who can write most blog posts. So you can get all of your blog posts at the top. And so that was really good fun. And then basically I thought at some point, okay, this is nice, but only my own company people read it. I might as well share this a bit broader. So I started copying my blog post onto. I opened and created a blog on WordPress and just copied my articles that I created internally onto that public site. And since then, basically, I've had probably another 3, 4, 5 different consultancies where I worked, and I'm basically adding more and more blog posts to it. And then, like I said, a number of years ago, 4 years ago, I probably wrote 10 blog posts a week, and you send out a tweet automatically and all sort of things, so people can find you as well. You don't just write it for, well, nobody. And more people then basically found that blog post. And I must say, nowadays I write slightly less posts, but it's still multiple posts a week, which is still quite good. But the nice thing is basically that the way I see it work is that if writing a blog post becomes an effort, you probably won't do it because it then becomes almost like a day task. So what I quite often do, basically, I work for a client. So I start a job in the beginning of the morning where I've hit some kind of problem. I open up my blog and start writing. So while I'm solving my problem, I write about my problem. And then when I think about, okay, well, I now need to find a solution, and I'm finding the solution, fiddle around, finding a solution, and write about the solution. Now I'm hitting the publish button. Now, hopefully, somebody else has got the same problem I've got. And this is exactly where the name comes from, SharePains. Okay, it's a little bit of a joke on SharePoint originally, of course, but I'm sharing all the pains that I'm finding during the day and sharing with everybody else. And the good thing is, basically, if you put lots of error messages in there, people will find it because people get those error messages. And then it works basically for everybody. And what I'm even asking people is that when you've got a problem, so when you've got a pain, can you share it with me as well? Because then I'll give you the answer. And then they go, oh, that's really good, because now my problem is solved. And you find that it basically then goes bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think I'm over, I don't know, I haven't checked recently, but it's somewhere between 800 and 900 posts on my blog, which is quite a decent number. And it means that people have had lots of pain. And hopefully I've helped them a little bit.
So, which means basically your blog is a medicine for the pains.
Yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, definitely.
So
and basically,
yeah. So you wrote only about the SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, or
it started with SharePoint. It's then Microsoft Teams. But the thing is, my core background comes from a development. I'm a developer, but I'm not just a developer who likes the code stuff. So when Microsoft created their product called Power Automate, and they created their product called Power Apps, I thought, okay, well, that's actually really good, because that's all the low code, no code. You can use some code, but you don't have to. And that's perfect, because our clients, they don't want to see code. They don't care about code. They only want to have a solution. And that's what they're looking for. And if you can make it more accessible to the clients, so you've delivered a solution, you can show them, this is what I did. And they go, okay, I can do that next time. And isn't that really nice? And you basically get a client and you say, this is the solution, I've developed it for you, and now you can get on with it. It's you can make changes and you can fix things if you want to, or create the next big app, or whatever you want to create. And that's basically one of the things that I really liked, I think, and I quite liked focusing on getting my clients to develop themselves.
So when did Microsoft recognized you, and how did they recognize you?
Basically, the way that works is that Microsoft has got these MVP awards, and they hand them out to community members, or not even members, community leaders. And so at the same time as I was writing my blog posts, I also basically looked after a couple of user groups. So in London, we had the Power Platform user group that I'm part of organizing. So that's really quite good, and you get into the community. But also with one of my now colleagues, Rory Neary, I started off Power Apps for Kids, and we basically get children to present their creations in Power Apps. And both my children have been heavily involved in getting that started and getting that going. They developed their own Power Apps. One of my children, they created what they call a cuddly toy picker. So they've got cuddly toys, but they've got more than one. So which one do we sleep with tonight? So they press an app and they press a button, and it tells them which cuddly toy is the cuddly toy for that night. So those kind of little things where you think, okay, well, that's really good. But they also went further, where for their homework they had to create a model of planets, Earth and Mars and all sorts of planets that move around, and he created that in Power Apps. And all the planets are moving from left to right and moving around the sun, and you can click on the planets and gives you information about it, and all those kind of things. You can find that Power Apps and the Power Platform and all the Microsoft technology, it's not just for business. It's also very good within the education world. Imagine if over the next 10 years we want to create another million apps. We need developers. Well, if you start young, and it's quite good, isn't there? So yeah, my youngest son basically started when he was 8.
So from which country you're getting more visitors?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
From which country you're getting more visitors?
Oh, anywhere. A lot of people come from America. But a lot of people come from India. I guess because there are more people over there, and both countries are more technology focused, I think. But I get people from everywhere, all over Europe. Quite a lot of China and that area as well. But yeah, the majority of it will be UK, India, and America. And of course, don't forget Australia as well. So I guess the English-speaking countries will find the blog slightly better.
So how do you find it? I mean, how do you write? You write by doing some research, or you write something that you have experienced about Microsoft? I saw you writing about SharePoint and writing about Teams, Microsoft Teams, and I think Azure also. I think you're into cloud also.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I do quite a lot of Azure work as well. It's in general, it's totally about I'm hitting a problem. Now you need to do some research. You need to find out how things work or whatever. And sometimes there is just no documentation, and you find that a lot of the blog posts that I wrote is actually about things that I figured out myself. So just to give you an example, is that in the coding world, you've got these the way to handle errors, for example. So you've got code, and somewhere in the middle of the code, it will fail because you made a mistake, or maybe because something weird is happening. And the typical way that code would solve that is by a try, catch, and finally kind of clause. And what I did is, I think it's probably about 3-4 years ago now, I wrote a blog post about try and catch and finally inside Power Automate. So taking a concept that is very normal within the coding world and turned it into a no-code pattern. And I basically created that, and it's one of those blog posts. It's still out there, and lots of other people have basically copied that same idea now, and they use it as a standard way of developing their solutions. And that's actually quite nice, I think. And there are a couple of these kind of patterns that I've actually developed from, well, non-existing. And there were a couple of other areas where people now recognize, hey, that's that method that he uses over there in the UK, and hey, let me use that too. And that's really good, of course. I personally quite like that.
So how many subjects you took? SharePoint, Teams, and Azure, and
It's broad. I don't like to restrict myself. And as a consultant nowadays, I think is when you do Microsoft technology, you can't really say, I'm just doing SharePoint. I remember when I first started with SharePoint in 2007, a couple of my colleagues, they were just doing CSS development, where they would make SharePoint 2007 look pretty. And that's all they did. And they were very narrow-minded is the wrong word, but they were very much focused just on the bit that they do. And I don't particularly like that. Personally, I want to make myself as broad as possible. So when I started with SharePoint, if you do SharePoint, you can, well, use the Power Platform quite nicely in that, because you can create custom web parts without any code. And if you then look at other stuff that you could do, is, well, when you do Power Automate, you might as well use Azure for a lot of things, because you can now use Azure functions to do some of the complicated bits that you would normally probably do within C# code or something like that. But now you can just do it in a PowerShell script in an Azure function or whatever. So those kind of things, you have to combine lots of bits of technology. And if you are just focusing on one product, you probably come up with solutions that are just for that one product. But if you can go broader and you can think about, okay, I can use Microsoft Azure, I can use Power BI as a way to present my data, or I can name any kind of technology, or AI. Microsoft's got a couple of very good AI modules as well. And if you combine all of that, you can deliver a lot better solutions for your clients. And I think that's what quite a lot of clients really, really like.
So what do your website users say to you? Do they ask questions, or do they interact with you, or do you solve the problems that they ask, or do you create a blog post based on their interest or the errors that they are getting?
I do basically all of that quite often. Basically, roughly about a year and a half ago, I added a little chat thingy on my website. It just pops up after 5 seconds or something like that and say, hello, thank you, welcome for visiting my SharePains.com. And if you need any help, I'm here. And I get about between 10 and 15 people who contact me there every day. And they will ask me questions about, I'm trying to create a flow in Power Automate, and help, I don't know how to do it, or I'm completely stuck. I've been banging my head for 10 days and I can't get this to work. And quite often I go, okay, well, you just need to do this. And they go, whoa, okay, that's really good. And see, that's basically really good. I also get, sometimes I get people say, okay, I've got a project that I need to get done, and I need to get it done quite quickly. Could you help me? Okay, those kind of things are a paid for job kind of thing. But all the questions and all the answers, I just answer for free. It's basically nice to just help people. Okay, I can't spend 20 days full time helping somebody to develop their next new app. I mean, there has to be, then it becomes a paid for job kind of thing. But for I would probably say 95% of these people that contacted me, but probably even more, it's probably even higher, probably 99% of the people, they just ask me questions. They go, I'm stuck, can you help me? And I go, here is the answer. Or I ask them a couple of questions. I don't do screen shares, I don't do anything else, I just do the little chat over there. But quite often, basically, they just go, okay, this was a great article, and I really liked it. And they go, okay, thank you. And that's quite nice too. Sometimes they don't have a question. Sometimes they just go, oh, is this a bot? And is there anybody really here? And I go, yeah, of course it is. And I can prove it to you. I can make some typos. So I make a couple of typos in my messages, and you go, okay, well, you must be real then. So it's quite nice, basically. You have that interaction with people, and you meet lots of people from all over the world, and they ask all sorts of questions. Lots of developers who just want a bit of help, which is fine. I just help them and see what we can do, and see if we can make it work for them.
So what is the minimum and the maximum word count of your single blog post? And how do you manage your full-time job and this job? This is something that you're doing for people to help them, to support them. How you developer personally, you're doing it. How you're managing it, and single blog post, how many words do you count, and why do people should should come to your site and see the errors? What is the main reason? How they're going to solve their problems by visiting your site?
Well, basically, there is no minimum content length that I've got on my blog. You find that sometimes I only need 100 words and it will give the whole story. It just gives the answer. Quite often, this is problem. This is the problem. This is the answer. That's it. I've got articles that go over the 2,000 words. It just depends on what the subject is about and how much of a problem it is. Or maybe sometimes I'm just describing a new feature and going through a whole tutorial of how do you use it. And it's quite often that's quite useful as well for lots of people. So it's not always pains. It's sometimes also just nice explains, I guess. And it's basically what people whatever they need pretty much. How to manage it? That's the difficult question, or not a difficult question. I've basically been. I'm quite lucky. I work for a company called Hybrid Services in the UK, and we're basically a consultancy. We're doing Power Platform, SharePoint, but also lots of infrastructural work. And Hybrid can basically say that it's quite nice to help the community, to build that community and to grow that community. And I can basically do lots of this blogging work just during the day, during my working time. I don't need to do it out of hours into my own time. I can just do it during working hours. Because the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on a client. I start my blog post. I'm actually documenting whatever their problem was. Okay, I'm doing it on their blog. Okay, I don't mention my client names on my blog post. So I do anonymize screenshots and all sorts of stuff. But as long as you're being careful with that, it's actually quite nice. And that means that okay, someone's calling me over there. Let's quickly switching them off. You will actually find, I think, that it's beneficial for both or all sides pretty much. It helps for Hybrid. It helps my client, because quite often I even say to my client, okay, I've just wrote a blog post about whatever your problem was. Here, go away and read it. And they go, okay, well, that's really good. And I tell my customers that when I'm finding a problem related to whatever problem we solve for you, whatever solution we try to deliver, if I find a problem, I will write about it. And at that moment they go, okay, we're happy with that. Or they say, no, okay, then I won't. But I can still write about things as long as I completely take it away from their environment quite often. As long as I can replicate the same kind of problem in my own environments and then write about it then. Or whatever. And I think it's quite nice to be able to write a blog post in your working hours. Because a lot of people basically think, oh, you can't do that because the customer is paying or whatever. But actually, they're getting documentation for their solutions. So quite often that just works.
So what are the common errors that many people do and that you observe?
Yep. Oh, you're slightly breaking up over there, I think. I think you're slightly breaking up over there. I think I've lost your signal. Oh, you're back now.
Yeah. So what are the common errors that many people do that you observe and that you try to explain through your blog?
I find the most common thing is not particularly an error. It's just lack of knowledge. People have basically they start developing whatever solution they start to develop, and now they got to that ceiling of their knowledge, and that's how far they get. Then they get to that point where basically they will need more knowledge, but they haven't got it. They haven't got colleagues to refer to or whatever, or maybe they do, but the colleagues don't have the answer either. And then they quite often come to my blog. They start Googling and they search and they find my blog. Now they have that little chat, and we then have a little chat about what they want to do. Quite often it's just about within Power Apps or Power Automate, for example, or SharePoint. A lot of it is about syntax. So if you get it slightly wrong, it just won't work. You can't, and error messages aren't always very clear. Quite often they're focused on developers. So if you're a bit more of an end user person and the messages are not very clear to you, now you need that little bit of help. that's that ceiling again, where people just can't get past the point of their own knowledge. Then I try to basically help them, try to educate them a bit, and see if they can learn on the way. And you find that that's probably the most common thing that happens. I think that's one of those things. The other thing that I'm hitting an awful lot with, and it's especially within that Power Automate world, people develop their flows for their process, and it's all working. It's working, but it's taking 8-10 hours to process whatever data they want to process. And then they come to me, can you make this work faster? And a lot of my clients, basically, they just need help to not particularly fix what's broken, but make it better. And at that moment, basically, I'll go away and I'll fix it for them, make it work faster. And you find that sometimes things that take 8 hours now suddenly take a couple of minutes or even less. And they go, whoa, that's really amazing. And sometimes it's just a very small things you have to change. It's not a big thing quite often, but it's just that little bit of, they basically put things together with the limited knowledge that they have, and everybody has. I mean, I've got limited knowledge, and it just means that somebody else looking at it, it's quite often already helps, and just using and applying their knowledge to that same process, to that same thing, and making it better. And I think that's I think in general it's quite good when you look at what I've done basically over the last 4 years is by looking at or organizing user groups and creating that blog and whatever else. It's all about making sure that other people can develop themselves and can grow and do a good job.
Can a visitor can get complete information about Microsoft complete solutions for the complete errors that they get in Microsoft Teams and also share and also Azure in your blog? Can they get all the answers for all the errors?
For a lot of it, the thing is that as long as I've hit it once, if I hit a problem, I will write about it. And if people basically find, for example, they've got another problem and they don't know the answer and they couldn't even find a blog post on my site related to it, quite often people still put messages on my blog. They just ask for help, and when I can, I will help them. Sometimes if I think, okay, well, that shouldn't take too long for me to reproduce and I can recreate it, I can quickly help them, I will do so. It's that I do free question answer thing. And if I think, okay, well, this is taking me too long, then we might have to look at what we can do in alternative ways. Or sometimes even my colleagues might be able to help. If it's, for example, if it's something that's outside my expertise, then I can always say, okay, I can't help you, but I know some of my colleagues will be able to help you. And that's good enough for me.
So one last question. So how do a new users and new visitors can able to find the exact error that they are getting on your site? Do you have any search bar?
Yeah. So I think there are two main ways of how you get to find the solutions. You either go to SharePains.com, and then on the left-hand side, if you're on a desktop version, there's a Google-like search, or if you're on a mobile version, it's way down on the page. So that's one way. But I find personally a lot of traffic comes straight from Google. So if you want an answer, basically type in the error message or whatever your question is or whatever, and add SharePains to it, because then you'll get to my blog quite quickly, and that will help you find the solutions. If you can't find an answer over there, then use the little chat and let me know.
So awesome! You're doing great work. You're doing this since last 10 years, right?
Yes, yeah, it's been roughly going on for about 10 years. And in the first 6 years, it was a little bit quieter, but in the last 4 years, it's exploded.
Awesome. So you work in Microsoft or?
No, I don't work in Microsoft. Basically, MVPs, there is one thing that they can't do. That's work for Microsoft. a lot of MVPs go and work for Microsoft at some point.
Yeah, I know.
As in that Microsoft will hire them, kind of thing. But once you get hired by Microsoft, you can't be an MVP anymore. MVPs have to be community members or leaders who do not work for Microsoft, and that's one of the magic bits of it.
So you're a full-time developer, software developer.
Yes, yeah, I'm basically an architect, a principal architect at Hybrid Services.
On cloud.
Yeah, yes, any cloud technology is what I'm happy with.
So you write about cloud also on your blog.
Yeah, it's anything as Microsoft.
Okay.
I will write about.
I have visitors who are into cloud, and I'm sure they'll find your blog and they'll check the errors that they're getting. So
okay, sounds very good.
Yeah. So what do you say? What do you say about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
No, basically I hadn't yet. Well, I quickly checked this morning when you contacted me earlier, and it looks very good, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this video to come out over there, and I will definitely promote it to my friends too.
So what is your observation about my work? Me talking with different country people. Not only I did software engineering, and I did masters in software engineering and graduation in computer science and engineering. I have tech background, but I'm talking with people who are into different countries. But not only in tech industry, I'm talking with all other professions, doctors, police officers. Like I'm trying to talk and take interview of them and what they do, and trying to put in my channel. What do you think that will be helpful? How this channel will helpful for me and for my audience?
I think in general, I think these well, you're building a community, aren't you? That's what it's all about, I think, and it's fairly similar, I think, to the stuff that I do. And I think it's nice, I think, to build a community, to grow that community, and you'll find, I think, that you're actually picking up lots of knowledge all over the place. But when you interview people, and you're sharing that same knowledge with other people. So I think even though at the moment you might not be sitting behind the keyboard and developing a new next solution kind of thing, it's still you're developing your, well, call them clients or your followers or whatever. And I think it's a similar kind of thing of you're basically sharing, well, less pain maybe, but you're still sharing. And it's I think a similar nice effect, I think. And the question that you asked me earlier about, well, how many followers do you get, and all those kind of things, and what motivates you? I'm sure you've got the same kind of motivation when you've got your videos and it hits 500 people or whatever number of people that hits it. I'm sure it will hit a lot more, but let's say it hits 500. You go, whoa, that's 500 people who watched it in the first 10 seconds of publishing or whatever. And you look at the numbers, basically, they go up. So you start with a few hundred, and it goes up to a few thousand, and it goes up to a lot more than a few thousand. And you then think, whoa, this is really good. And you go, whoa, and I'm doing it. And people start to recognize me. And that's exactly the magic, I think, of blogging or vlogging.
So I'm sure in coming days also your blogs and your knowledge will be helpful for more people, and I'm sure your medicine will be useful for a lot of pains in the people in the world, people who are into Microsoft and cloud and SharePoint and other technologies that you are going to tell through your blog.
Yeah, definitely. It's the aim for it. It's a bit like a doctor, isn't it?
Yes, you're a doctor. So I'll put if you send me your links, I'll put in the description of this video. People who finds the video can see the SharePains website and can also share with their friends who are into cloud and SharePoint and other things. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and also can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yeah, go for it. You can publish it all. I'll give you my my handles for all the social platforms.
Yeah. I'll share it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zai. Bye.
Bye.